everyone. My name is James Crilly, and I will be your host for the Course 1 Communication and Launch Day Preparation. The agenda for today is this. We're going to discuss the benefits of the Insights platform. We're going to review the upgrade process. We're going to talk about your next steps, and then we're going to answer any questions that you might have. So, what does the Insights platform mean to me and my organization? Well, we're going to go to one single URL. App.frontlineeducation will be the new universal URL. Yes, the old app-specific URLs like asoponline.com, iepdirect.com, mylearningplan.com, they will still work. However, we're eventually going to migrate from all those app specifics to this single Frontline URL. From that, we also are going to the single Frontline ID account, which then what we're going to do is one login to rule them all. So you type in one credential, and you're able to enter into any application that you belong in. To do that also, we're going to seamlessly switch between the applications. So no longer do you have to remember what this URL is, these credentials, this URL, what those credentials is. Once everything will be blended together, you will be able to what we call app switch between all of the applications. We also have a new mobile app, currently available for absence in time and professional growth right now. So system admins also can control user access to all applications from one web page. Now that is contained in Course 3, Manage User Access course. Learn that new web page, but you actually control the access. So again, existing records, you can't create new records on that web page, but you can actually, if someone exists, you can activate them. You set their own passwords. So if they forget it, they will reset their own passwords. They have the ability to. And also, we are SOC 2 compliant. So we're happy with that. What is the process to upgrade to the Insights platform? So it's a simple process. It's a three-step process. We break it down. System admins must attend the training. So this is one of 3 that you're at. So each system admin will register for the 3 web trainings. They'll all go. Also, the training focuses on communication, that's today, data cleanup, that's Wednesday, and managing the user access going forward, that's Thursday's class. So we want to make sure everybody is fully trained for this upgrade. Second, management and communication. User data must match between all applications, and basically that means that the last name and the email address for the same person must be the same across all applications that you have. When that is done, we're going to send communication to all system users, district staff, substitutes, and external agencies, contractors for IEP 504 users. We're going to launch. So what happens is users will create their new Frontline ID accounts or use SSO credentials. Now, we're going to put that on hold. So going forward, we're going to create their Frontline ID accounts. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And we also want to review the onboarding process. Again, that's another thing that we're going to do in Course 3. So let's start here. Again, this is just a snapshot of our training website. Here is the URL. So you just want to click on it. Again, each system admin will register for courses 1, 2, and 3. Now, if someone can't attend and you do, you can forward them the recording and all the course material that we will send out after the meeting. Optional office hours, they're provided. And again, don't forget to register for your go live date. Data management. We'll provide you with a data file containing all users, both active and inactive. The system will simulate the merge process because, again, we're trying to get all these different user records down into one single record. So really what the data file consists of is our simulation process. Exceptions will be reported in separate tabs. System admin will make the appropriate changes within the application itself. We're not going to make any changes on the data file. We're going to make all changes within the application itself. Now, we recommend create a super system admin full access across all of the applications. Now, again, this might be a little easier said than done because who controls the system? That's really where we need to decide. Is it the BOCES? Does the BOCES control the system? Well, if they do, then we might not have the ability to create ourselves as a super admin. But if you can be a super admin across all applications, it just makes the cleanup process a lot easier because then you're a person that can make the data changes right directly into applications rather than having to call Mary and tell Mary, okay, these are the changes I need you to do, Mary. Can you get them done for me? So that's really the data management. Now, communication. Let's talk about that. We will provide you with a notification email, okay, and you will modify that as needed. You're going to plan to send this out to all district staff, substitutes, and external agencies and contractors. This typically sent out 1 to 2 weeks prior to your launch day. Now, you can send an email reminder 1 day prior. Most districts do, and I think it's a great touch. Now, lastly, we're going to include end-user training. The end-user training sources, they will be included in that notification email, and we'll see that shortly. Let's look at that notification letter. Again, you're going to send this out. It's a template. All you really need to do is put in your name, put in the launch day and time, and lastly, you're going to put in a signature line. Everything else we've incorporated. So there's a quick start guide. There's a simulator course. So if people want to go through those courses or print that quick start guide to see the process, they definitely can. We also tell them what the new URL will be, which again is at app.frontlineeducation.com. Now, please beware, the app.frontlineeducation.com, the new URL, will only accept Frontline ID accounts. Okay, so as the people are upgrading, if they're saying, well, this one's not accepting my credentials, my first question would be, which URL are you using? Oh, I'm using app.frontline. No, you can't use app.frontlineeducation first. You need to go to the application specific, like Apple Online or mylearningplan.com, and then once you create your Frontline ID, then you can begin to use that app.frontlineeducation.com. We have single sign-on, but again, we're on hold, so I'm just going to skip over that. If the district is interested in doing district-specific single sign-on, like using your Google ID or using your Microsoft ID credentials, then what you're going to do is after January of 2020, what you want to do is contact any of our support teams and ask them to begin the process to link district's SSO with the new Frontline Sites platform. Let's look at professional growth, because professional growth is going to get a little bit of a facelift here. So we include this. So if you have professional growth, there's this documentation. You want to include it to all of your end users. So basically we're going from a top bar where options in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to change that down to the left side menu bar. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit of an orientation change. As I always say, it's the same furniture in the living room, it's just the couch is against a different wall. So this is the professional growth. Again, this is part of that communication packet that you will receive later. Let's talk about that. So it's a free download. Again, you can go to Apple or Google Play where you can download it. The products, again, absence management, time and attendance, and professional growth. Now, our other products are coming, but those are the ones that we have right now. So the mobile app can be used by teachers, or as we call them, campus users and organization users. Now, this will continue to use the app called Jobulator. Okay, they'll continue to use Jobulator. Now, the mobile app, what's the purpose? We're looking at quick action items like creating an absence, checking absence balance reasons, clocking in and out. These are all actions for the teachers. Now, what about for your campus and organization users? You can review daily report, approve, deny absences, create absences on behalf of teachers, and assign substitutes. Now, when you download this app, it's going to ask you for an invitation code. Now, the invitation code is the same for everybody, so you want to communicate this out. 7354. That is the code that when I first download the application, I'll need to type in. Launch day. Let's talk about launch day. expect? What do we expect? Now, the upgrade to the Insights platform will occur around 1 p.m. Okay, so that means your morning rush will subside around 1 p.m. We're going to upgrade. Now, this allows, again, the morning activities to subside. There's going to be no downtime. Okay, no downtime. So what does that mean? It's going to happen. You're going to log in and you're going to be automatically prompted to create your Frontline ID. Now, what if you're in session, as we call it? That means, let's say at 12:54, I log in to IEP. I'm doing my IEP stuff. It's 1 o'clock. System's upgraded. How am I affected? Am I kicked out? No, not. You will continue in session, whatever you were doing, until you log out, or the system logs you out after 60 minutes of inactivity. Either way, the next time you log in, you will be prompted to create that Frontline ID. So again, there's no system downtime, and you're not going to be kicked out of the system if you're already in during the crossover of the bunch. And users, you'll log in with your existing credentials to create that Frontline ID. So whatever your existing credentials are today, you're going to use it to prompt you to create that Frontline ID. So look at this. So when we go in there, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to any app-specific URL that I have an account for. So I might be asoponline.com, mylearningplan.com, iepdirect.com, could be any of them that I have an active account in. I type in my old credentials, and guess what? I am going to be prompted. The system will prompt me to create. And so basically, by default, I need to update this account. Will be selected for me. And then all I'll do is go in there and type in a username, a password, and an email. Now, here's the thing. We can suggest, but we can't make the user type in a certain username. So as long as that username is unique in the Frontline universe, just not your district, but within the Frontline universe, that name will be accepted. Same thing for the password and email reset. Again, it's very similar to you create an Amazon account, you create a Facebook account. Very similar how you set everything up. So that is the Frontline, how you're going to do it. Again, use your old credentials to upgrade to that new Frontline ID. Now, a couple to remember about that Frontline ID. The Frontline ID is the personal property of the user. So what does that mean? So let's say I'm with you, I get my Frontline ID. Now I decide, hey, it's way too cold in New York, so I'm going to transfer over to California. Now I transfer over to California, and they also have Frontline. So when they activate my accounts, I'll just use the same username and password that I used for New York district. I'll use that for California. Now here's the thing. When that user leaves, or let's just say it's me, when I leave your district, you're going to revoke my access. So I'll no longer be able to log into and see any of your information. So that kind of frees up that Frontline ID. So that's where it's my personal property. So again, the district you can recommend I would recommend, hey, if you're going to create your Frontline ID, use your district email address if you're a district employee, because that's definitely going to be unique across the whole Frontline universe. But again, it is up to the end user themselves to create that username. I forgot links. Again, they'll log in here, hey, I forgot my username or I forgot my password. They can self-correct or self-help themselves. So hopefully this will eliminate some of the questions of, hey, what's my username, what's my password, and so forth. Also, and you'll see this in Course 3, you can reset the user's password. If they're having a problem, you can, on their behalf, reset it. But remember, there is this link here that says, I forgot my password. So again, they can self-correct. And we're going to hold off on sign-on from the district's perspective. So what are our next steps? Let's look at these. What are the district's expectations? One, communicate to each system admin regarding the upgrade. Okay, we don't want Mary, who does IEP Direct, to be, oh my gosh, I never knew. So we want to make sure we communicate out to all the system admins. Again, that could be a BOCES or that could be a RIC, depending on how you have that purchased, how you have the applications purchased. My first question, who to contact if I'm having problems with this application. So if you're like, who's the system admin? My first question would be, if I'm having problems in IEP Direct, who do I call first? Now, I'm only in your district, but that district person might be a liaison to the BOCES or to the record or something. So that's where I would start. Who do I call when having problems within this application? And eventually, we will get to who that system admin user is. Now, verify that each of the system admin attends all the courses. Now, the RICs and the BOCES, they're attending these courses. So we just need the districts to attend them as well. Verify system admins have corrected the data in the applications. Now, again, this depends on who owns the data. So the district might own the data, meaning I go in there and I can change or create new users, change user data. However, the BOCES might own it. So if I need a change, I've got to contact them. So again, any changes to the system need to be done directly in the application itself. Next, again, we want to coordinate district communication to all end users. Okay, we want to make sure that is done. And lastly, we want to establish a go-live date. Now, our deadline date, like I said before, is December 10th, 2019. We can't go any past that. So from tomorrow, every other Tuesday, or every Tuesday, not every other, but every Tuesday at 1 p.m., we will upgrade. So I just need you to go into the resources page, click on that Register Go Live, and select the date that's best for your district. Now, if you need to change, let's say I schedule for the 26th, and I'm like, you know what, I was being a little aggressive. I'm going to have to push that to the 3rd, December 3rd. That's fine. Just go back in and re-register for December 3rd. Because what the system's going to do, it's going to go back to the November 26th. I'd say, oh, well, you know what, let's cancel that. Because now the newest version for you is December 3rd. So again, if you have to change, just go in there and make the corrections. Frontline, what can you expect from Frontline? Well, we're going to be providing you with 2 data files, one at the beginning and one after all corrections have been made. So we'll send you a data file. And then once you've made all the corrections within the applications and you're like, hey, I think 90% there, we're really good, then you'll reach out to us, and then we will submit you another file. So typically we send 2 files, one at the beginning and one at the end. Frontline will also provide support to the project lead and system admins. Now, what does that mean? Some of you might have your Director of Technologies, your DOTs, taking care of this. However, I don't actually manage the system. However, somebody else does. So whoever is your project lead or whoever is a system admin, as they reach out to us, will reach out to you. So again, the project lead and the system admins. Just note, Frontline does not provide support to the actual end users. So we don't support the 10 million end users that we have. What we will do is support your system admins, which has basically been our philosophy since the beginning. So nothing has changed there. So those are the next steps. What I like to do is talk about our milestones here. So this is basically for you guys to print out and write down. I'm a printer and a writer, so you can print this out, set your go live date. What do you want it to be? Again, December 10th, 2019 is the deadline. So again, you want to click on that hyperlink. You want to register, put that down. Now, system admin training completed by date. When we want to have everybody's training done, data cleanup, we want it completed by a certain date. Communication, when do we want to send this out? And again, who's sending it out? That's most important. Who's going to be sending it out? Because we don't need 5 different people sending out the same communication. Single sign-on tested by date. Again, we're just going to disregard that. So here's the milestones, and you can populate this information. Again, this is kind of like a workbook, if you will. However, what I like to do, I like to reverse engineer everything. So I'm the timeline. So if my go live date is X, then one before I want to send the communication out. So I know when I need to send that communication. Well, to send the communication, I'm going to make sure my data is cleaned up. So do you see how we're backtracking to finding or filling out the dates? So that's exactly what I would do. I would start with the go live date, and I would reverse engineer it, go back to populate these dates here. that start date would be today's date. So that's it. That is really the communication and what we will experience, or what the end users will experience. We'll experience the same thing. Again, we log in to the app-specific URL. We type in our current credentials, and at that point, we will be upgraded to the Frontline ID. Now, just here, okay, actually for users for IEP, we really need to have individual logins. So you may have a situation where you have an agency, let's just say, and within Acme agency, there's like 10 different users logging in through the exact same credentials. That's no longer going to be acceptable. I believe the state of New York has passed legislation against that. So what we really need to do is work on getting individual accounts for each of those individual contractors. So I'm IEP. If I'm the system admin for IEP, I want to begin reaching out to Acme agency and say, listen, you got like 5 different users use the same login. We really can't do that. From the agency is basically username and email addresses. That way you can begin to set them up with the system. So again, it's not we're projecting, although we like it for security purposes, but realistically the state of New York is really pushing that. Let me get to our questions that we have. When will system admins receive the first data file? That's great. So what happens is this. We're triggered when you sign up for the Course 2. Course is the data management. So as you sign up for Course 2, that's going to trigger us to send out the data file. So hopefully if you signed up for the November 20th session, we should have it to you by the 20th. So you don't necessarily have to have the data file when we go over it. It's just nice to. But it's not a requirement to attend that. But again, as you sign up, now what we'll do is we'll send it. So if there's 3 of you, as happened, you're the first one that signs up. We're going to send the data file to you. Okay, so we just send it to one person that signs up for that, and then the other person would just forward that over to the other people. Actually, when you'll get your data file. Audio issues. Hope we're having better audio issues. Sorry about that. Multiple system admins for IEP Direct and Oasis. Who will receive the data file and the number of users is not the same. Will we get 2 files for the separate system? No. Basically, the data file will come over. It's one gigantic data file with all of your applications. Remember, we need to blend the same user across all applications, okay? And we got to make sure the last name and the email address is the same in all of the applications. So again, Course 2 will talk more to that, but basically it's going to be one big universal file that will be sent out to whoever's the first person to register within your district. We'll send that out to you. Individual account creation needs to be done before migration. Account creation. So the creation happens when we migrate. So at that point, what happens is, I have an account in absence management. I have one in my learning plan and IEP Direct. So it doesn't matter which one I start with. I just start with any of them. I'll log into one. I'll create my username and password, email, and at that point the system, because it knows by my last name and email address, the system will link the other 2 applications with me. So realistically, I just log in once, I create my front ID, and again, because of the work that we will do with the data management, it's going to blend all my accounts together under that one login. Is there a database field that is a unique identifier across multiple systems? Yes, there is. That's a great question. However, what we found, I've been doing this for almost 4 years. The upgrade has been going through all over 10,000 districts for about 4 years now. the best way to do that is email address and last name, because identifiers you're pushing or pulling from external systems, they're not always the same. IEP Direct uses they might use state identifiers, while Absence Manager or ASOP might use your payroll or HR identifiers. So what we try to do is, while we can, we stick strictly to last name and the email address. Several employees with the same name. How can we differentiate? Okay, that's a great thing. They should not have this email address. So that's really will be the differentiator. So if you have two John Smiths, they should technically have different district email addresses. Same for substitutes. Like if you have two John Smiths, they should have two different email addresses. We access the startup templates and resources to use with employees. Our startup templates. I'm not quite by startup templates that we're showing here. Basically, any template I showed you here will be sent to you after the training, probably by tomorrow. However, if it's something within the actual application itself, what I would do is reach out to the the support team for that application. The functionality really doesn't change. Then with this upgrade, basically what you're doing is you're getting a brand new login experience. That's really what's changing the most. Question, hoping to get the data file and not both data file. How will I know that? Whenever you sign up for the data management course, it's going to ask you what is your district name. In that case, you would just put in the district name. We know that this isn't related to communication, but we've already attended webinars 2 and 3 and received our data file. Currently do not have LDAP in place. Currently, admin creates a user in the respective systems. Will we continue to create users? Yes. So basically what's going to happen, the login process to creating a brand new user stays the same. Okay, so basically you're going to create them in each of the applications, but with the mindset that the last name and the email address will be the same. Now, if that's the same, then the system will automatically blend all that user across those different applications, will blend them together. So again, the onboarding process of creating a new user in the applications will today stay the same. For teachers are also subs. If we use their work email address, they would not be able to link accounts in other districts with our district. That's a great question. Here's the thing: you're talking about the multi-hub capability. That's actually matched up not by email address. It's matched by spelling of first name, last name, and phone number. Those three criteria. If they match, the system will say, hey, you know what, I think you're a sub in a different district. So what you can do now, the other question is this: does that teacher who are also subs, do they actually shop for jobs, as I call it? Because you may have a teacher that you created as a sub, but the only reason you created them as a sub is because in my 5th grade pod, if you will, there's 3 teachers, and when one teacher's out and I can't find a sub, well, I'll just use John in his his study periods to cover that class. But if I definitely need to have, maybe I'm in the morning and a sub in the afternoon, if I definitely need both of those, then you can make the email addresses the same. Again, for that multiple district functionality, it is last name, first name, last name, and phone number. We'll be sending the PowerPoint. That's a good question. Yeah, I'll be sending that out. Report on who is not upgraded. Yes. So you'll be able, and that's course 3, you'll be able to see by pulling up, do you have an account or do you not have an account for those front lines. So you're definitely able to see who's upgraded and who's hasn't. Specifically for system admin who's primarily creating user accounts for new hires and PD and evaluation, how does this work in this upgrade? new hires create their own accounts. So basically this will all be answered in Course 3. But basically you're going to create them like normal, and these new people, you're going to send them an invitation. You're going to send them an email invitation to create their Frontline ID. Again, that's for people created after we launch, okay, after the go live date. Pre-existing users, people that exist today in the system before we upgrade, they'll just use their old credentials, like grandfathered in, if you will. They'll use their old credentials to upgrade to that Frontline ID. Subs do not have emails. That's an excellent question. Honestly, if we existed, we do not need your email, okay? Now, going forward, if I'm a substitute, you hire me as a substitute after you launch, yes, because then that's the only way I can gain access into the system. But if I pre-exist, I have my old credentials. I have my own phone number ID. I have my own PIN, and I can use those to upgrade. Now, here's the caveat. If I'm a pre-existing sub, however, for some reason I can't remember my PIN, can't remember my ID, and I can't upgrade, you would need my email to send me that invitation just to help me out. But again, that is only if the sub is having difficulty creating their Frontline ID. And basically what they would do, if I were that sub, I'm having problems, I would contact you, and that would be the moment you would say, hey, you know what, Jamie, I don't have your email address. Can you give it to me? Oh, it's this. Okay, I've just sent you an invitation. So again, for substitutes, even for your contractors, IEP contractors and agencies, okay, I don't need an email address for pre-existing people, as long as they can go and create their Frontline IDs without issue, meaning I remember my old credentials. If I do that, I don't need their email. But again, if they're having issues with creating their Frontline ID, then you would need their email address just to send them that invitation. We use the identifiers for ClassLink to pull the data, so we would need to reset. I wouldn't need to reset that. No. So if I would not reset any identifiers if you are attached, if you have some type of integration with an external payroll system, an type of external system, the integrations from Frontline to an external system, they stay the same. Nothing changes. The only thing this upgrade will affect will be the end user, access my Frontline ID accounts. That's really the only thing. But I would not recommend going in there and changing identifiers just because that's going to break any type of integration links that you have. If you use IEP Direct, do we need to worry about this? This is an excellent question. Kristen, yes, but you know what? You're going to have a lot less work than somebody else that has 4 different applications. If I'm IEP Direct, I'm going to get that data file, and I should be completely good. As long as, here's the caveat, as long as you didn't inadvertently create me in IEP Direct multiple times. So if you've only created people once in the system, then you really shouldn't have a lot of cleanup to do. People who come over from other school districts mid-year and name changes within the system. So basically what you would do is this. You'd make those changes, or you would add those individuals at the time that they need to. So if there's a name change, you're going to have to communicate that. Typically that's going to be probably from HR, just going to be changing the HR payroll system. My recommend is this. Any changes come from HR, goes to your IT department. Just you got to update the email address from Aiden to Mary name, let's just say. If no changes are required at the IT level, then IT passes that out to the system admins. That is our course going forward. Once you've upgraded, you've been board approved. Next, my information gets sent to the IT department. If I'm a district employee, I create the district creates my district employee email, and then that information is then dispersed out to all system admins. Now, if I'm a sub, what I would do at that point is on the onboarding process, so if I'm filling out a registration to become a sub, you want that as a requirement going forward. Will you send out the presentation? Yep, I will send this out. What do we do about the agencies that multiple users accepting? Yes, so this is the thing. Realistically, I forget what the act is, but I know the New York State wants to pull everything out. They don't want these generic logins. Every individual needs their own login. So in that case, what you've got to do is you've got to reach out to agency that is, and you got to say, listen, based on the state law, we have individual accounts for individual users. So at that point, you just need to start creating those individual accounts for those individual users and have them log in. Now, before or after, it's completely up to you. But you have to get them separate accounts. I would do it sooner rather than later, honestly, because, if the state comes in and they start auditing, again, it's a lot better to start upgrading now than to later. So, again, any generic logins, agency logins, please begin to communicate out, tell them, you got to give me all the people access this. I need their email address. I need to create them as an individual user with an IEP because, again, the state law. And the notice templates, yes. So, Bill, yes, the notice templates, I'll give you there's going to be a notification packet I will send out to everybody. What is the email? It's like a secure email. A question about what is it's being sent from. It's a secure link is actually what it's it's from Frontline, but in the title it says secure upload link is in the title or the subject line. Can the system admin mass assign a user ID? In this for the Frontline ID, no, they can't. If that's what you're talking about, basically any user created after the upgrade, okay, you're going to put me in that system, and then you're going to send me an email invitation, and then I will create that Frontline ID. And we'll talk about that more in Course 3. If EAs have a My Learning Plan but do not have access to IEP, will this affect their sign-on? Access to, I think, talking about a viewer, maybe an IEP viewer, I do know this. If I go into System X, maybe it's a student information, student management system, and I pull up Sally. And you know what? Sally has an IEP. And I can, from that system, I can click on this, and I can view, basically an IEP viewer, I can view Sally's IEP. If that is the case, I will not be affected. No impact, because realistically, I'm logging into the student information system. I'm not logging directly into IEPdirect.com. So that's a great question to ask, is if I need to log into IEPdirect.com or 504 Direct or any of those, then yes, my account will be upgraded. But if I access IEP through another application like that viewer as we were discussing, no, because realistically my access is being authenticated, if you will, through System X, that student information system. What employee doesn't have access to all three systems currently, then they would just gain access to the systems that they do have. If someone's like, oh my gosh, you know what, John really needs to be in IEP Direct, then what we need to do is create John's account in IEP Direct as soon as we can. New user creation. With this upgrade, will you be able to create a user once selecting each application they need access to? Right now, that's a great question. Right now, it's going to be the way it is today. It's the siloed approach. Here I am, James Crilly, with my email address. Again, Sally puts me in IEP, Mary puts me in absence, and John puts me in My Learning Plan. Eventually, yes, we will get to the point where we'll have a global directory, and you just put me in once, and then you're like, hey, I want to put him in IEP. I want to put that person into My Learning Plan, but we're not there yet, system. So, again, it's the same process of creating new users as is. Again, the only thing is we want to make sure that the name and email address is the same when we create those users, because then the system can automatically merge those accounts together. Sure that the login information matches with all applications before the merge. So login information matches. So that's the data file if you're talking, because the system really doesn't care what username you use. if I'm following your question here. So basically, it says, listen, I got James Crilly. Crilly is his last name and his email address. Okay, if that matches in all of their accounts, boom, I'll put them together. And regardless of what account James Crilly has, he just needs to log into one of them to prompt the upgrade process. We notify all the individual members of an agency. That's a great idea. This is what districts have been doing. They just contact the agency, and that application letter, basically send it out to teach your district staff, your students, and to agencies. Now, the agencies, though, this is where you kind of follow up and you say, listen, you've got multiple people using an agency generic login. We're going to have to break that down, and you're going to have to tell me who those people are. We're going to have to create them an individual account. But it's basically the same notification letter, even to agencies that you would send to your district. Because again, if an NC user is broken down as a separate account, they would actually log in and then they would upgrade as well. Can we use this change over to add Google SSO to our district? It's a great question, Paul. At this point, because so close to the cutoff date, our Frontline has realistically postponed any Google SSO, but yes, we do use Google ID. So realistically, in January, contact us and say, listen, maybe you're the person. Say, this is the person to contact. We're using Google. And then what we can do is we can start the process of building that connection. But yes, we do use Google ID for SSO. What employee doesn't have access to the 3 systems currently? I think I answered that. Does Frontline have a flagging system in the event that a user was created in multiple program silos with incorrect information? For instance, someone accidentally enters an email address in the wrong. That's a question. So this will be covered more in Managed User Access, and we'll talk about that. Because what happens is when you're upgraded, you can see basically what the system will do. It's an Excel spreadsheet. If my last name and email matches, and let's say I've been put in 3 different applications, well, initially I'll show up as 3 rows of information, and then the system will push me down to 1. So if you're seeing me listed twice, you now have the ability to basically merge my accounts together. And again, we'll go over that in Managed User Access, where you can actually merge the accounts. And at that point, again, kind of force them. So even though my last name or my email address is wrong, you're kind of meshing me together anyway, saying, yes, I verify that James Crilly is the same person in all the applications, and I can merge them together. And again, it's a quick way to at least give me, the end user, the ability to log in real quick, and then what you can do is you're like, wow, that's Sally and ASAP. We gotta change Crilly's name because he only has 1 L instead of 2 L. If a district works for districts and currently has 2 separate logins, will those be merged? Yes, they will. So basically what's going to happen is those individuals will actually have a login. So let me do this. Let's look at the screen. I'm going to take a pause. Okay, screen. This is the Frontline ID. This is me. I've upgraded, so we can't see the upgrade process, but I have a JC Demo account, so I'm going to log into Frontline. Now, watch what happens. When I log in, if I am in 2 or more districts, I'm going to get this option, select an organization. Have Acme School District and Online Success. So these are my application, or the different organizations or districts I belong in. So this is what really, for agencies, this is what's going to happen. As an agency who services multiple districts, they will then be able to stack all the districts that they work with under one login. So for the agency, the individual users, it's really nice because no longer do I need to remember, oh my gosh, what's the login credentials for District A compared to my login credentials for District D. Nope. Everything will be blended together. So as I log into those districts and it says, hey, I create, well, this time I'll say I already have a Frontline ID because I already created it for District A. This is the credentials that I used with District A. Now District B, their login will be connected into that username. So again, I select an organization, and what's nice here is once I select an organization, and this is 90% of your people will fall into, they will get a select an application because 90% of your people or more only go to your district, okay? So they're not going to select a district if it's the only option available. However, if I'm in more than 2 or more applications, I will select an application, and this is what I'll see here. And then at this point, I'll select the application I want to get into, and then I can app switch, as we call it. Let's go into absence management. So going into absence management, and and then here's the app switcher. I just go in here. Oh man. Oh, I want to go into professional growth. I'm in absence management. Do my stuff. Okay. Oh, let's go to professional growth. Oh, that's great. Now I'm in professional growth. I did the stuff I got to do there. Oh, I need to go into IEP. Yeah, let's go into IEP. So this is how a user, when they get all of their applications merged together under that individual frontline universal ID. Switch. How much time and notice do you recommend giving the end users before the transition? Typically a week. People a week. Now, if you want to go longer, you can definitely go longer, but by a minimum, we say a week. We'll give everybody enough time. Looking at the Q&A, we got some Q&A questions other than the chat. When we receive the data file, we're trying, as soon as you sign up for Course 2, within about 48 hours, we try to get those files out to you. So we're trying desperately to get everybody who signed up for the Wednesday course that data out to you as quickly as possible. Some of our users do not have access to more than one frontline. Is their system being upgraded for all users? Only for those who have access to more than one. It's everybody. So if you only have one, if you have 12, it doesn't matter. What we're doing is your frontline system will automatically be upgraded. When we get the communication email for our end users, you'll probably get that tomorrow. This recording and what we call the communication packet. Who gets the data file? The system admin? Yeah, whoever signs up for Course 2, the first person for your district that signs up will receive that data file. When do we get the sample communication? Tomorrow. What if we have multiple admins? That's okay. I suggest that all of them sign up for all of the courses. Again, the first one for the data will get the data file. Share IEP documents with the agency school. We have to get the email for the employees from that agency if they log in. So if they go in and they type in iepdirect.com and they log in, yes, you're going to need, they're going to need to upgrade. If they're doing it through a generic login, we want to break that down. So if 5 people are using the generic login, we want to break that down. And I want to create an account for those 5 individual people. What the individual admins are not watching the trainings, what will happen? Oh my goodness. That's a great question. Well, what's the scenario? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, what if I don't do anything? What if I stick my head in the ground like an ostrich and it just comes and goes? What really happens? So the system will do this. The data file is basically what the system is going to do without any changes. If you don't do any changes, that is going to be the end result, okay? So it's going to try to merge all of your accounts together, okay, in an attempt to do that. Now, let's say for some reason, I'm an employee, so I'm in absence management, ASAP, I'm in my learning plan, IEP, and let's just say for some weird reason, my last name is different in 2 accounts, and I got a different email in the 3rd. Realistically, the system can't merge any of my 3 accounts. So I'm right there. So I can't merge any of my accounts, okay? I log into, let's just say, My Learning Plan. I log into My Learning Plan. And this one says, hey, I recognize you as an active user, but you're going to have to upgrade. Oh, that's great. Okay. I'm going to say, put my district email address in there. Okay. So I go into My Learning Plan and do what I need to do. Then the next day, I'm like, you know what? I got to create an absence. Okay. So I type in my 10-digit phone number, 4 or 5-digit PIN, and it says, hey, recognize you as an active user, but you got to upgrade. But here's the thing. At this point, I have an option to either upgrade to a new frontline ID or should pick, I already I've already upgraded. And I would pick I already upgraded, put in my district email address, and now my learning plan and ASAP have been blended. But let's say I forget to do that. Let's say I was like, I don't know. So I create myself as another user, Jay Crilly, let's just say. So now I have my district email address and I have Jay Crilly. So they're two separate. It's very similar to my situation that I have right now. And then again, IEP, I do the exact same thing, but I create a third username. So what happens? So right now, I'm no worse than I am today because I'm just logging in now. Instead of using my old credentials, I have a Frontline ID credential, But again, they're all separate, going to just one singular application. Here's the beauty. You have the Manage User Access page, and we'll cover this in Course 3. But now you'll go and you'll find me because now I'm 3 rows of information. Remember, because like that spreadsheet, I'm not merged together. And all I do is pick row 1, pick row 2, merge. Okay? All you need to know is which username do I want to use, because I'm going to have my email address, my district email address, and I'll have Jay Crilly. So what do you want to use? Let's use my district. Okay, we'll merge them together using your Jay Crilly. So then I got my IEP. Again, we're going to merge those to account. Which username do you want to use? You want to use your district name? So at this point, going forward, you are able to merge the records together if things aren't properly merged together in the first place. So there is a way to self-correct. And not to blow your mind, but I as a user, if I'm like, wait a minute, I've already done this before. I can go up here in the upper right-hand corner under Account Settings myself. I'm the actual end user. I go Account Settings, I select my Account Settings, Frontline ID, and hey, merge them. Do you have multiple Frontline ID accounts? Well, yeah, I do. I have this JC demo, I've got my district email address, and I got a Jay Crilly one. Well, the end user, can self-correct as well. So you could do it for me through the Manage User Access page, or I, as an end user, could do this through my account settings, again, just by clicking my name in the upper right-hand corner. I'm trying to see, where did I leave off? The system admin from each migrate over as a system admin for all of Frontline. So what happens here is, left alone, if we don't do anything, I will have the same permissions as I did before. Now, if you want to make me like a super admin user, and what we'll have to do is go into each individual application and make sure I have a system admin account. That's basically what it is. So now I can log into all, let's just say, 3 Frontline applications because I've been created as a system admin. Now, Frontline, we can't create those system admins. Contractually we can't. So what you're going to have to do is go to whoever the system admin is for that application and just say, hey, Betty, could you create me as a system admin? That way I can help get a thing together for this upgrade. Can we pull a current list of users across all applications? That's really what the data file is. That data will pull every user, active, inactive, across all of the applications for you. Can you repeat where we sign up for Course 2, please? I signed up for this off the front in ASAP. Now they're up for Course 2. We do have this. I don't know if this is what we're trying to do. I'm going to post this into our chat window. But what we're going to do is, again, the manage, you can go in there and you can actually register. However, I do this. Like, if you're for Wednesday and you're like, I'm not going to be able to make it, don't worry about it. Okay? Because what's going to happen, again, once the recording's done, I'm going to send out the recording and any course material to anybody who's registered for that day. If you only have access to Absence Manager, do they need to create a new account for their? Yes, they do. So regardless if you have one or many, you're going to have to create a Frontline ID. The thing is if you have many, the nice thing is under that one Frontline ID, you'll be able to access multiple applications. Good question. If you have an agent who owns their own IEP Direct Frontline account, does the home district still need to manage all the separate If the agency, if they have their own IEP Direct, meaning they've purchased from us, then that would be have to manage that themselves. The only one the district needs to manage is if you have it and you create the users on behalf of them. Again, it's because you own the IEP Direct. Distinct applications, will they come up separately if the district has both? Oh, yeah. So as we're looking here, we're going here, it shows the information separately. So basically 504, IEP, RTI, Medicaid, they're all under the umbrella of special education and interventions, okay? However, we do list them separately because technically they're different modules, if you will, even though you use the same user, but you just assign the different modules to them. I use a portal for 13 districts. Will I still be able to use the portal after creating the Frontline D? The answer is yes. It's going to be a little bit different. So basically what's going to happen is, this is my portal, if you will. So Tara, notice I don't have a little school icon like you guys do, but basically what's going to happen is you're going to log in, or you're going to get an invitation depending on how you do it. But you will create a Frontline AD, and you will associate all 13 of your districts together so that you will have basically a pick list with these 13 districts. So the portal is kind of being morphed into this Frontline ID, if you will. A report of who has not upgraded to the new system so we can follow up. It's not up. Shelly, I'm not quite sure report of individual users or districts. I'm not quite sure what you're talking. Now, I will hear in the chat, if I get that right, put my email address in there. So if you have some specific questions, there is my email address, and you can reach me. I understand that you don't have a sandbox. That's correct. How can we set up ahead of time? Unfortunately, it's kind of like a light bulb. You flip the switch and everybody sees it immediately. So unfortunately, yeah, we don't have a sandbox. But however, once you go through the training, I think each of the system admins will know enough information to help those end users. Again, a lot of it, if we correct the data, get the data correct and clean, it's going to help our end users a lot. To get a report of who's not upgraded, again, I would district, or whether that be individual. Individual, that's the Manage User Access page. How will super user rights be controlled across products? From admin for professional growth and absence management. That's a great question. So the permissions, I think how you control them today will be how to control them in the future. So nothing changes regarding how you assign permission or user rights or anything like that. So again, with the Manage User Access page, we're just saying, hey, are you basically active or not? That's what the biggest thing is for the Manage User Access page. Are you active or not? And if you're active, give the rights or to create a Frontline ID. What do we tell users? Use in between data clean date and migration date. Should they use their old? Yes. Yes. Basically, from right now until you schedule a go live, you're going to continue to use your old credentials, and you're going to continue to go to the what we call app-specific URLs. Okay. What do to tell users to use the data that was the after we upgrade the data file? That's a great question. We don't do any changes within the data file itself. Okay, so all changes must be made in the underlying application itself. So we don't want to make any changes to the data file because we can't reload that. So once you've made all your changes, then you think, you know what, we're 90% done, then what you want to do is reach out to us, reach out to me, and I can resend you a data file, okay? Because you get one at the beginning, and then once you've made all your changes, you'll get one at the end. But please don't make changes in the actual data file itself. You want to make them in the underlying applications. Okay. Real questions? At this point, I don't see any more. Wait a minute. What about the users that are evaluator provider only? Will they just be in the system still? They don't receive anything else. Email address listed. Okay, so in IEP, this might be what is no access. You may create users that are no access, and really what that is as you're filling out your IEPs or Medicaid or whatever, you need to a name or an entity in a drop-down list. And maybe this is what you mean. For those individuals that, you know what, the only purpose of creating their account is so they're part of a pick list or a drop-down list, but really they don't log into the system at all. No, you don't need to worry about them. You don't need an email address. You don't need to worry about them. Now, again, you can see because you go to their account and it says no access right there on the account itself. So at that point, no is required for those individuals. Any other questions? Questions today? Any other questions? Again, I gave everybody my email address. Again, you should be receiving your data file within the next day or two. Again, just give us a couple of days to process all of those requests. We will send it out to whomever is the first person from the district that is signed up and has reached out to us. We'll send that file to you. And at that point, just coordinate, and we'll talk a little bit more about coordination in the next course, the Data 2, or Course 2, the Data Management. I don't see any other questions. I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I gave you my email address. And just make sure, again, that you've registered for Course 2, Course 3, and eventually we register for the go live date. So if you were originally told the 19th, which is tomorrow, what I need you to do right now is go in there and register for a different date. That way you're not upgraded on the 19th unexpectedly. That would not be good. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.